Ladies and gentlemen, criticism is not the enemy of your destiny, it is the mirror of your development. The words that challenge you, if understood properly, can build you more than the applause that flatters you. Criticism reveals areas of potential growth. Often in life, we become so accustomed to our own patterns, habits, and perspectives that we develop blind spots, areas where we cannot see what is broken, misaligned, or underdeveloped. These are the exact places where criticism, though uncomfortable, serves as a gift. It is in these moments of confrontation, when someone challenges our approach, questions our decisions, or points out flaws, that we are granted the opportunity to pause and reflect. While the natural human reaction to criticism may be defense or denial, wisdom invites us to lean in and examine what is being said. Not all criticism is accurate, but every piece of criticism offers a moment for introspection. It may affirm what we already sensed about ourselves, but were hesitant to face. Or it may reveal something entirely new that, if addressed, can elevate our competence, character, or contribution. When we receive criticism from others, whether it is from a supervisor, a peer, a customer, or even a stranger, we are being invited into a mirror that we didn't ask for but often need. This mirror does not lie. It simply reflects back aspects of ourselves from someone else's perspective. And while their lens may be tinted by emotion, misunderstanding, or even bias, there is often a seed of truth hidden within. The mature individual does not disregard the entire message because the messenger was imperfect. Instead, they separate the truth from the tone and extract what is useful for their growth. Criticism also plays a powerful role in breaking the illusion of perfection. Many people operate under the pressure of appearing flawless, which makes them fragile when feedback comes. But growth demands honesty, and honesty often comes through hard conversations. When someone tells you that your work was subpar, your leadership ineffective, or your idea flawed, they are unintentionally offering you the raw materials of improvement. You are given a map, not a verdict, a chance to ask, what must I do differently to rise higher next time? That question turns a painful remark into a path forward. Moreover, accepting criticism positions you as a learner. It trains your character to be teachable, no matter how gifted, experienced, or intelligent you are. The moment you stop learning is the moment you stop leading. Embracing criticism as growth prevents stagnation. It keeps you evolving. And perhaps most importantly, it humbles you. It reminds you that your journey is not about maintaining an image, but about becoming the best version of who you were created to be. So while criticism can hurt, it also heals. It breaks down illusions and builds up awareness. It is a tool sharp, yes, but capable of sculpting potential into excellence. The next time you are criticized, don't shrink, don't harden, don't retaliate. Instead, listen, reflect, grow. Because within every critique lies a clue to the person you are becoming and the greatness you are yet to unlock. How we react to criticism reveals our level of maturity, both emotionally and spiritually. It's easy to accept praise and compliments. They feel good. They affirm our worth and they boost our confidence. But criticism is a different story. It challenges us, shakes our sense of security, and forces us to confront parts of ourselves that we might prefer to ignore. The true test of character is not how we respond to applause, but how we respond when faced with opposition or disapproval. When criticism comes our way, our initial instincts are often defensive. We want to justify ourselves, explain away the feedback, or even attack the person offering it. These reactions, while natural, reveal a lack of emotional control and an attachment to ego. Maturity, on the other hand, is shown when we pause, listen attentively, and choose to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. This does not mean blindly accepting every criticism, but rather giving it due consideration, separating constructive insights from negativity, and responding in a way that promotes growth. Spiritually, how we handle criticism reflects our inner strength and humility. It shows whether we are anchored in our identity and purpose, or if we are vulnerable to being shaken by others' opinions. A mature person understands that their worth is not defined by external validation, but by an inner conviction of their value and mission. They can receive criticism without feeling diminished because they recognize that feedback, even when harsh, does not dictate their destiny. It only informs their journey. Moreover, reacting well to criticism requires emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage our own emotions while interpreting the emotions behind the feedback. A mature individual is aware of their emotional triggers and does not let hurt feelings cloud their judgment. They know that criticism often says more about the critic's perspective or situation than about their true value. This awareness allows them to maintain composure, avoid unnecessary conflict, and engage in meaningful dialogue. The response to criticism can also influence relationships and opportunities. When someone sees you handle feedback with grace and openness, it builds trust and respect. Leaders who welcome constructive criticism create environments where continuous improvement is possible. They encourage collaboration rather than defensiveness. Conversely, reacting with anger or denial can isolate you and shut down communication, limiting growth both personally and professionally. Ultimately, maturity is not about being perfect or never feeling hurt by criticism. It's about mastering yourself in those moments of challenge. It's about rising above pride, fear, and insecurity to respond with wisdom and courage. It's recognizing that every piece of feedback, no matter how difficult, is an invitation to evolve. When you embrace this mindset, criticism transforms from a threat into a powerful tool that refines your character, strengthens your resilience, and propels you toward your highest potential. In summary, the way we react to criticism is a mirror reflecting our emotional and spiritual maturity. By cultivating patience, humility, and discernment, we can turn criticism into a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. This maturity not only enriches our inner lives, but also enhances our effectiveness in every area of life, enabling us to navigate challenges with grace and emerge stronger. Critics often identify your significance more than your friends do. It's a paradox of life that those who oppose, challenge, or criticize you are often the ones who recognize your impact and potential the most clearly. When you are moving in the direction of purpose and making a meaningful contribution, you will inevitably attract attention, and not always the kind that is comforting or affirming. This is because significance, by its very nature, disturbs the status quo, provokes thought, and calls for change. If your work, ideas, or leadership were truly insignificant, they would likely go unnoticed, unchallenged, and easily dismissed. In fact, criticism can be viewed as a form of acknowledgement. It is a sign that what you are doing matters enough to elicit a response. The louder the opposition, the louder your voice is being heard in some capacity. This is often why history's greatest leaders, innovators, and change makers faced intense criticism. Their ideas threatened established norms. Their successes stirred envy or skepticism, and their vision demanded discomfort from those unwilling to change. Yet through that opposition, they were recognized as forces to be reckoned with. Understanding this dynamic shifts the way you perceive criticism. Instead of shrinking away from it or feeling discouraged, you begin to see it as evidence of your relevance. The critics are often more aware of your potential than you are. They see what you can become or the influence you wield, even if they don't say it outright. Sometimes their critique is a projection of their own fears or insecurities, but underneath it lies an unconscious acknowledgement of your power. This awareness also frees you from seeking validation solely from praise or approval. When you realize that criticism is an indicator of significance, you become less dependent on unanimous agreement or constant affirmation. You can withstand opposition with confidence, knowing that the very act of being criticized places you on a path of impact and leadership. It reminds you that progress is rarely smooth, and that resistance is part of the process toward achieving greatness. Moreover, critics challenge you to refine and clarify your vision. Their skepticism forces you to evaluate your purpose, sharpen your message, and improve your methods. In this way, criticism acts as a catalyst for growth and refinement. It pushes you to articulate your values and goals more clearly, ensuring that your significance is not just recognized but sustained. By learning from criticism, you build resilience and deepen your commitment to your cause. Finally, recognizing that critics often highlight your significance can transform how you engage with opposition. Instead of responding with hostility or avoidance, you can approach criticism with curiosity and strategic intent. You can ask yourself, what is this criticism really telling me about the impact I'm making? How can I use this feedback to strengthen my efforts? This mindset turns potential obstacles into opportunities. In essence, criticism is not a sign of failure, but a signal of your growing importance. It means you are stepping into your role, influencing others, and shaking the foundations where change is needed. The key is to not let the negativity blind you, but to let it illuminate the fact that your journey is significant and worth every challenge it brings. Don't internalize negativity, extract the lesson. One of the most important skills you can develop in life is the ability to separate your identity and self-worth from the opinions and judgments of others. Criticism often comes wrapped in negativity, sometimes harsh, sometimes unfair, and it can be easy to let those words seep deeply into your mind, affecting your confidence and outlook. But to grow, you must learn not to absorb every negative comment as a personal attack. Instead, approach criticism as data, information that you can analyze and use to improve yourself, rather than as a verdict on your value as a person. Internalizing negativity means allowing negative feedback to dictate your emotions and your self-image. This can lead to self-doubt, anxiety, and even paralysis, where fear of failure or rejection prevents you from taking necessary risks. But the truth is, no one is perfect. Everyone has areas to improve, and everyone will face criticism at some point. What differentiates those who succeed from those who falter is how they respond. When you internalize negativity, you give power to the very things that should only be tools for growth. On the other hand, extracting the lesson means stepping back, listening carefully, and identifying the parts of the feedback that have merit, even if they're delivered in a less than kind way. To do this effectively, you must cultivate emotional resilience. This means strengthening your ability to stay calm and objective, even when the criticism stings. It also means practicing discernment, understanding that not all criticism is valid or useful. Some criticism may come from misunderstanding, jealousy, or bias. Learning to filter out the noise and focus only on what helps you grow is essential. This is not about ignoring important feedback, but about protecting yourself from unnecessary harm and focusing on what truly matters. Extracting the lesson also requires a mindset shift from seeing criticism as a threat to seeing it as a gift. A gift because it provides insights into how others perceive your actions, your work, or your behavior. It uncovers blind spots that you may never have noticed on your own. This perspective helps transform the emotional sting into intellectual curiosity. What can I learn here? How can I use this information to become better, stronger, or wiser? This shift opens the door to continuous improvement and lifelong learning. It's also helpful to seek clarity when criticism is vague or confusing. Ask questions, if possible, what exactly do you mean? Can you give me an example? This not only shows maturity, but also helps you get specific feedback that you can act upon. Taking action on the lessons you extract builds confidence and demonstrates your commitment to growth. Over time, this approach reduces your fear of criticism and increases your ability to handle it constructively. Ultimately, don't let negativity weigh you down. Instead, use it to build yourself up. Learn to separate your worth from others' opinions and focus on what you can control, your response and your growth. This skill will empower you to move forward with greater courage, clarity, and confidence. When you extract the lesson from every criticism, you turn what could be a stumbling block into a stepping stone on your path to success. Purpose gives criticism a frame. When you have a clear and compelling sense of purpose, the way you perceive and respond to criticism changes dramatically. Purpose acts like a lens through which you interpret every experience, including the challenges and negative feedback that inevitably come your way. Instead of viewing criticism as a personal attack or a signal of failure, you begin to see it as part of the journey toward fulfilling your mission. Purpose provides context, meaning, and resilience, elements that protect your spirit and guide your actions when faced with opposition. Without purpose, criticism can feel overwhelming and discouraging. It can shake your confidence, make you question your abilities, and even derail your progress. But with purpose, criticism becomes less about your ego or self-worth and more about your commitment to a greater cause. It helps you understand that setbacks and negative comments are not the end of the road, but stepping stones that help refine your path. This mindset shift empowers you to keep moving forward despite difficulties, because you know that your efforts matter beyond immediate results or opinions. Purpose also helps you distinguish between constructive criticism and mere negativity. When you have a strong why, you can filter feedback more effectively, focusing on what aligns with your goals and dismissing what is irrelevant or destructive. This clarity prevents you from being swayed by every voice or opinion, especially those that come from misunderstanding or malice. Instead, you become selective and strategic, absorbing lessons that support your vision and letting go of distractions that drain your energy. Moreover, purpose fuels perseverance. It keeps you anchored when criticism feels heavy and progress seems slow. Knowing why you started and what you are working toward creates a reservoir of strength that criticism cannot easily deplete. Purpose connects you to your passion and values, reminding you of the bigger picture and the impact you hope to make. This connection provides motivation on tough days and helps you maintain a positive attitude, which is essential for growth and success. Having a purpose-driven mindset also transforms how you engage with critics. Instead of reacting emotionally or defensively, you approach criticism with curiosity and openness. You see critics as part of the ecosystem that challenges you to grow and improve. Purpose gives you confidence to face opposition without fear, because you understand that criticism is not a reflection of your ultimate worth, but a tool to sharpen your focus and strengthen your resolve. In addition, purpose inspires you to take responsibility for your growth. When criticism comes your way, you don't blame others or circumstances. Instead, you ask, how can this help me move closer to my purpose? This proactive attitude turns feedback into actionable steps and continuous improvement. It fosters a mindset of lifelong learning where every experience, including criticism, contributes to your evolution. In essence, purpose gives criticism a frame by providing context, clarity, and resilience. It changes the narrative from one of defeat to one of growth, from fear to courage. When your purpose is clear, criticism no longer has the power to discourage you. Instead, it becomes fuel that propels you forward on your path to fulfilling your highest potential. Great leaders grow through resistance, because resistance is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of progress. When you step into leadership or any significant role, you inevitably face opposition, challenges, and criticism. These obstacles test your commitment, sharpen your vision, and refine your abilities. Resistance acts like a form of resistance training for the soul and the mind. It builds endurance, resilience, and clarity. Just as muscles grow stronger when faced with tension, your leadership qualities develop when you confront difficulties head-on rather than avoiding them. Resistance reveals the strength of your conviction. When ideas, decisions, or changes you introduce meet opposition, it forces you to articulate your purpose more clearly and defend your principles with confidence. This process deepens your understanding of your own vision and prepares you to lead with greater authority. It also helps you identify potential weaknesses or gaps in your plan, giving you the opportunity to make necessary adjustments before moving forward. Without resistance, it's easy to become complacent or unaware of areas that need improvement. Furthermore, resistance encourages innovation. When you are challenged, you are pushed to think creatively and find new solutions. It compels you to step outside your comfort zone and explore alternative approaches. Leaders who embrace resistance do not view it as a roadblock, but as a catalyst that sparks growth and breakthrough ideas. This mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities and setbacks into stepping stones. The process of growing through resistance also fosters humility and empathy. Experiencing pushback helps you appreciate the perspectives and concerns of others, even those who disagree with you. It teaches you patience and the importance of listening deeply. Great leaders are not only those who can push through opposition, but those who can also bring others along by understanding their fears and motivations. Resistance refines your emotional intelligence, making you a more effective and compassionate leader. Importantly, resistance builds character. It tests your integrity and perseverance. When faced with criticism or opposition, you are challenged to remain true to your values and purpose. This strengthens your moral fiber and builds the kind of character that earns respect and inspires loyalty. Leaders who grow through resistance become role models for others, demonstrating courage and determination in the face of adversity. Lastly, resistance prepares you for greater responsibilities. As you learn to navigate and overcome challenges, you become more capable of handling complexity and uncertainty. This preparation is essential because leadership often involves making difficult decisions that may not please everyone. By growing through resistance, you develop the confidence and wisdom needed to lead effectively in all circumstances. In summary, resistance is not something to fear or avoid. It is a necessary part of growth, especially for leaders. Through resistance, you gain clarity, innovation, humility, character, and strength. You become better equipped to fulfill your purpose and make a lasting impact. Embracing resistance transforms challenges into powerful lessons that propel you toward your highest potential. Your legacy depends on your response to criticism because life does not remember the absence of opposition. It remembers how you stood in the face of it. Everyone encounters criticism, but not everyone responds in a way that builds character, influence, and lasting impact. The choices you make when confronted with negative feedback shape not only your personal growth, but also the story that others tell about you long after you are gone. Your legacy is the sum of your actions, attitudes, and resilience, especially during times of challenge. When criticism arises, it is easy to become defensive, discouraged, or even bitter. Some allow harsh words to define their self-worth and limit their potential. But those who understand the power of their response see criticism as an opportunity to demonstrate strength and grace. They refuse to be victims of negativity and instead choose to rise above it. This choice to respond with maturity and wisdom is what builds a legacy worth remembering. Your response to criticism reflects your inner values and beliefs. It reveals whether you are driven by ego or purpose, fear or faith, weakness or strength. When you respond with calmness, openness, and a willingness to learn, you show that your identity is anchored in something greater than external approval. This kind of response inspires others and sets an example of resilience that encourages people to persevere in their own struggles. Moreover, how you handle criticism affects the relationships and networks you build. Responding thoughtfully to feedback fosters respect, trust, and collaboration. People are drawn to leaders and individuals who listen without judgment and use criticism constructively. Your reputation as someone who can take feedback in stride and grow from it makes you a valuable asset in any community or organization. The way you respond also influences the narrative of your life story. Everyone faces setbacks, mistakes, and moments of doubt. But it is the response that defines whether those moments become turning points or stumbling blocks. A legacy is shaped not by perfection, but by perseverance, the ability to keep moving forward despite obstacles. Each time you choose growth over resentment, humility over pride, and action over excuses, you build a stronger foundation for your future and for those who follow. Furthermore, responding well to criticism encourages continuous self-improvement. It creates a mindset that values feedback as a gift rather than a threat. This mindset leads to lifelong learning and adaptability, qualities essential for lasting success. Your legacy is enriched when you commit to becoming better every day, not despite criticism, but because of it. Finally, your legacy is a reflection of your character in moments of pressure. The way you respond to criticism reveals your true nature more than any praise ever could. It is in these moments that you have the power to transform negativity into motivation, doubt into determination, and opposition into opportunity. By choosing to respond constructively, you leave behind a legacy of courage, wisdom, and influence that inspires generations. In essence, your legacy depends on your response to criticism. It is the story of how you handled adversity, grew through challenges, and stayed true to your purpose. This response defines not only your present success, but the lasting impact you leave on the world.